Welcome to Creative Culture, a podcast about, wait for it, creativity and culture. In the last episode, you may remember I was talking about changing the name of the podcast, and here we are. It's still the same amazing show, but now with a name that actually explains what it's about, and hopefully it's a little bit more Apple and Spotify friendly. And in fact, if you could do me a favor right now, please leave a 5-star rating and or a review of this podcast wherever you're listening. I'd really appreciate that help to get the word out. And you know, this is why I love podcasting, because you can just do whatever you want. Can you imagine changing the name of a YouTube channel? I mean, you've been on YouTube forever.
Yeah, especially after you've used every video before that saying the original channel name. So.
I know, and then it's just stuck in there. But do you recall back in the early days of YouTube when I started my channel in 2008, and I named the channel, you just had to have like a username, and I just quickly put Steve in Marin because I was in Marin County. I thought Steve in Marin, hey, that makes a good name. But I misspelled my own name. And so it was Stev. I forgot the second E. It was Stev in Marin for years. And then people would think that my name was Stev, or either that, it was Steven with an I-N. It was really confusing, but.
That's rough. And that was before YouTube would let you even change the name.
That's right. It was just, that's what showed up. And then eventually you could have the name would show up, in the channel name so that it was only in the URL. And now that's gone completely because they've changed it over to the @ symbol, whatever you want your channel to be.
Yeah.
Zack Nelson, no, his name isn't Jerry, is the creator of JerryRigEverything, a YouTube channel mostly about technology with over 1.6 billion channel views. You've probably seen one or more of his videos taking apart phones, testing their durability, or showing you how to repair them. Or maybe you've seen his videos on electric vehicles. He literally made his own electric Hummer and an elevator in his living room. But just to put this into perspective, Zach, I made a wooden step stool a couple weeks ago.
You've made way more than that.
So. There's that. Zach is also interested in accessibility issues and has created an off-road wheelchair called the Not a Wheelchair. This thing is super cool and really looks fun. No matter what the topic, you can always expect Zach's cool demeanor and dry wit in every video. Zach, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Far too kind. Far too kind.
How old's your baby now? What's Cyrus? That's his name?
Yeah, so he's 1.5, and we are 6 months pregnant.
Oh, really?
So, yeah,
second one.
Quick.
So what's it like? What's it been like having the little one?
Really good. I feel like every new parent says this, but I literally can't remember what it was like not having a kid just because so much has changed.
Yeah.
But even though it's so much harder and the sleep is so much less, life is so much more fulfilling.
Right.
And I'm really glad that, another one's on the way, even though it's probably going to get a whole lot more difficult here pretty quick.
They just get stickier is all.
I
can't say I only have one, and he's grown, so it's been a long time since I had a little one around. But that's a good age when they're real little like that, because they're just starting to learn how to smile and just respond to you and stuff, and that's really cool.
He's getting really cute. Every morning when he wakes up, I'm in charge of going to go get him, and then we go into our bedroom, and he runs up to the bed and he gives Mom a hug and a kiss, and it's just like the highlight of her day. So.
Aww. That's pretty cool. Has it been hard to juggle family life with all of the work that you do?
Yeah, traveling has been rough.
Yeah, I bet.
So from now on, I'm saying no to a lot more traveling. Mm-hmm. I can do a lot of work here from home. And as far as my creative flow, I feel like I can accomplish a lot more when I'm at my own desk, my own computer. The computer I'm at right now has a big widescreen monitor and then another monitor up top. And so I can just have video editing is so much easier than it is when you're on a laptop, and it's just hard being away from home. So
you still do your own video editing?
So I have an editor. He's one of my buddies from high school, and he's been doing stuff for probably the last 7 years. My channel's been around for 10 years.
Yeah.
And so he does like the bulk of the edit, and then I get it back and fine tune, polish it, make sure the punchlines of the jokes line up, and then post it.
You've got a very dry sense of humor, I think, on the channel. I really like the way that comes across.
Yeah, I try to keep it in a way that like sometimes you might not notice the joke, and then it's past you, and then you realize, oh wait, that was a funny, and then you chuckle.
Well, I think what I like best about it, and we need to get into this whole phone business, because I think that I like your videos because of the fact that you're not like shilling for these phone manufacturers. You, as far as I understand it, you pay for these phones yourself. You get them in there, and then you basically take them all apart and show us what's inside of the phone, which I find really interesting. And even though I don't think I would take a phone apart, but I think most people at some point have probably thought, can I replace this glass myself? And then you're the guy who shows up, huh?
They watch my video and they decide not to.
I think I did that too. It's probably 10 years ago. I'm like, do I want to do this? Yeah. Nah. But why are people so obsessed with the latest phones? And it's been like this for a while. Is this just something that the manufacturers have just gotten us to believe that, like, yeah, you got to get a new phone every couple of years?
I mean, I don't think it's something that the manufacturers necessarily have to teach us. I think it's just an inherent human trait. You always want the shiniest rock, and so it's like every time they release a new rock, even though it does the same thing as the old rock, you got to have it. So that's why, like, I try to say as many times as I can that I'm using a 3.5-year-old Note 10 Plus as my daily driver. And I try to like help people understand that it's okay to use an old phone. And like my life, I operate off of this phone because I work on social media all the time. And if I can do that with a 3.5-year-old phone, anyone else can too when they use their phone for calling and scrolling through Twitter. So
I really think that the whole phone technology is kind of leveling off at this point. I mean, it's not as steep of a curve, and it seems like now, and I only know about like the new features of phones because they advertise them, and it used to be pretty big features. Now they're like, oh, you can now remove people from photos. I have the Pixel phone, and I don't remember which one this is. This is from probably 4 or 5 years ago. Probably 4 years ago. It was one of the earlier ones. But I love their ads because the latest ones they've been doing are showing that you can remove unwanted parts of the photo. And the ad is just so dumb because it shows this swimming pool. They're taking a picture of somebody sitting on the edge of the pool, and some guy jumps into the pool in a cannonball, and it's like, oh, we got to remove that guy. And you can just, hey, remove him. And I'm thinking, why wouldn't you just take another photo? If the person sitting there is the subject, wouldn't that make more sense if the person you wanted to eliminate was the person sitting there and not the guy doing the cannonball was the exciting part?
Yeah. I mean, I think phones plateaued about 2 years ago, maybe 3.
Yeah.
And not a whole lot has changed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes my job a little bit harder because I have to find that angle for like the video title and thumbnail and all that stuff. I wish phones are more exciting, but not a lot has changed, and there's no reason to upgrade.
But people they still love watching those videos. Are you surprised by the numbers of views they still get? I mean, your channel just kills it with those phone videos. You put out a phone video, you're getting like 1 million views on that thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. I'm definitely not complaining.
Yeah. And what do you do with all those old phones? You probably cycle them or something.
I do. I have quite the collection. For the most part, I use them for parts. And then the ones that are still functional, I usually sell after about a year or two, after there's no possibility of using them in more than one video. Because every now and then I'll like do a phone review on the newest one and then reference the older one and pull that phone into the video as well. So I do keep them for a while.
Did you ever take apart a Pixel?
I did. Several, all of them.
Oh, basically. You have? Okay. Yeah. So the feature that they had on the one I had before this it was a squeeze feature. You remember that? You could squeeze it and it would pull up I don't want to say, hey, Google, because everybody's phone's going to go off. But it would do that without you having to say that. And I loved that feature. I wouldn't have to unlock my phone or anything. I could just do and ask it a question. And they eliminated that.
Interesting.
Was that the only phone that had that feature?
Yeah, so it started with HTC, if I remember correctly, and it was just a series, like a very small string of sensors inside of the frame that could sense like the subtle pressure on the outside. Really cool technology, but I don't know, it came across to me as a little more of a gimmick, but I mean, it's really cool to hear that, it was actually used by at least one person out in the wild.
I loved it. It was just right there. Boom. I could just talk directly into the phone without having to have this preliminary thing. Do you think they'll ever change it to where you can just have that code word? What do they call that? Where it's like, hey, Siri or whatever, that you could just do computer.
Probably at some point.
I
I
don't
don't know
know.
if we want to reach that level of technology though.
Really?
I'm kind of wary of all the AI stuff going on. And like even today, I saw an article that said that like Twitter employees were sharing videos of people's private cameras in their cars. And it's like Twitter employees have access to that and they're sharing it around everywhere. So the less technology, like honestly, I don't have any of those speakers in my house. I
Yeah.
don't have any Google speakers, Siri speakers, nothing. Just because I know there's employees somewhere out there 100% listening in. And that's not a conspiracy theory. Like literally today, Tesla employees are doing that. So it's like across the board. I love humans, but you can't trust most of them.
I've tried testing that with, and see, I don't really use it. We got the Google set up and we thought, oh, this will be cool. And it turns out we really didn't use it that much. It really, you have your phone right there. And to me, it's a little less intrusive just to kind of punch in whatever it is you want rather than have to say it out loud. But I was testing it just in natural conversation. I would try to bring up something that I don't normally talk about. Like, boy, sure would be nice if I had a Swiffer mop or something like that. And then I was just hoping that maybe I would start seeing ads for that, on my phone. I didn't, but I've heard people say that happens.
Yep. I don't own any cats, and I was talking to my sister about cat food one time, and I got an ad for cat food.
See?
I 100% believe that conspiracy theory.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Where do you think we're going with AI? Are you up on any of this stuff? Does it freak you out?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't tried most of it. I do think how fast it's developing, it's going to get real scary real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching another video the other day of, you know how like there's encrypted traffic and like secure communications and all that stuff. There was a video released talking about quantum computing. And so people are downloading all of this encrypted traffic because in 10 years, there's going to be quantum computers that can decrypt it. And then all that information is going to be incredibly valuable, whether that's for, useful means or blackmail means or whatever, but just technology's going quick.
It is. I think that's the kind of the thing that scares a lot of people is the ability for it to just spread disinformation, misinformation so quickly. It could be crazy how to determine what is real and what is not. I mean, right now, most of us can pretty much sniff it out, but I think it was
debatable.
Well, yeah, that's true. Tom Scott, he recently had a video on it where he kind of got freaked out because it wrote code for him. He asked it to write some sort of code for a Gmail thing he wanted done. And he's like, wow, this basically just did it for me. I don't need to write code to do any of this stuff. But his contention was that we are at the very beginning of a very steep, fast rising curve right now. And then I've heard people say within the next 6 months to 2 years, is really when things are going to change dramatically.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
And it's hard to get people to really talk about this. I tried to have a person on this show who works for a tech company in the Bay Area, and they wouldn't let her do the podcast. They're like, well, no, first we got to see a list of questions. And I'm like, well, that's not really the way I work the show. It's not a Q&A kind of show. It's just, we're just talking. Plus, I just want to ask if AI is intent on destroying us all, But so they wouldn't, let her do it that way. And this is kind of symbolic of these big tech companies. To me, it's like, this is why I think so many of us are so suspicious about all of this, is because they're being really cagey about all of this.
Yeah, definitely something to be worried about.
There's a part of me that kind of thinks, well, we seem to always figure this stuff out,
For the most part, we always figure stuff out. But like there's some stories back from like World War II that kind of freaked me out where they were testing like atomic weapons and stuff. And like they were blowing up bombs in the atmosphere, not knowing whether it was going to start our atmosphere on
Oh,
fire.
shit.
And like the scientists were like, yeah, there's a possibility of this. Let's do it anyway. And like that amount of power and just like winging it, like
Right.
eventually, like the end of humanity is going to come and someone's going to be like, oh shoot, is going to be the last words anyone ever utters. And then we all just explode or something. That's my bet.
Is that your fear with AI? Is like right now we're just kind of winging it. These tech companies are just like, there's such a scramble to get AI on everything.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that are just going to end humanity pretty quickly, but AI is definitely one of them.
Wow. So you are not an optimistic person when it comes to AI.
There's too many crazy people out there, and then also too many
Yeah.
crazy people who support the crazy people.
Yeah, you're right. I saw where there's like some petition going around among some of these tech leaders to like put a 6-month put the brakes on AI development. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
It's hard though. Once you open the box is open. Yeah. So how did you get started with your YouTube channel? I think of the very first videos I watched a long time ago were like that nail video and like
Yeah.
the chain
Yeah, that
and
was
the
an early
ball and
one.
cage.
Yeah.
I think I used your ball and cage video, or no, you did a block and cage or something like
Yeah.
that. But I did one on my channel and I kind of referenced
Oh, yeah.
that same style.
Yeah. Yeah,
But how did you get started?
well, it was like the way so many of us did back then, just kind of on a lark, it was just a fun thing to do. And when you had your first channel probably around the same time I did. I started in 2008. You were probably
I think I was 2012.
2012. Is that your current channel? Jerry Rig Everything?
Yeah. So, well, when I first started my channel, I screwed up with the name as well.
Oh,
I
so
thought it
you
was just
changed the
going to be,
name. I know you were
I
like,
thought it would be funny to be Green Dew Ocean as
yeah.
my channel name. And then I realized like 50 videos into it that name
Yeah,
is not
probably not.
marketable.
Yeah.
So I switched it.
Well, if it's early on, you can switch that pretty easy with it.
That was back when YouTube wouldn't let you. I had to delete that channel and start over.
Oh, I see. You had to change oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. So those are all gone. Did you ever repost any of that stuff?
Uh-huh. Yeah, if you go back and look at my channel, like the first 50 videos are all posted like
Oh,
within
I
a week
see.
of each other.
Yeah.
And that's because I deleted my channel and re-uploaded everything.
You did some woodworking stuff. Anyway, I guess you still do, from time to time.
Every now and then, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to see. You got a lot of space there you're working in now with your warehouses and everything. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's exciting. I wish I had more time to do woodworking stuff. Now
Yeah.
it's more like, automotive things. I mean, all stuff I enjoy, but I think I would really enjoy woodworking more if I got into it.
I think it would have to just be a hobby for you because you have so much other stuff going on. And you're spending a lot of time with this, the wheelchair, aren't you? The not a wheelchair. And I find this really fascinating because I'm friends with Shane Burkaw. You know Shane and Hannah probably. They go by Squirmy and Grubs. Yeah.
Yep.
Another interabled couple. And he's talked about some of these issues of just accessibility. And I even noticed, I think maybe it might have been on your Instagram or something about just getting on a plane with a wheelchair. And he's talked about that a lot. And his wheelchair is fully, electronic because he only has movement like in his hands, basically. And they destroy wheelchairs on airplanes. They will not let you take them in, and it is just horrible. So I guess, is some of that changing now, some of those laws?
Very, very slowly. I wish that they would let you just roll onto the plane with your wheelchair and just like strap your wheelchair in like they do
Sure.
on some buses. Because like honestly, if the plane crashes, doesn't matter if you're wearing your seatbelt, everyone's gonna die. Everyone.
Right.
There's no saving nobody on a crashed airplane.
Right.
So they should just let you park your wheelchair, buckle it in so it doesn't roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a politician, but it is definitely a big issue.
Yeah. Yeah. It's frustrating. And you've been together with Cambry for a number of years, 3, 4 years now?
Yeah. We've been married for 3.5, and then we dated for a year before that.
Oh, that's great. What is your experience like as an interabled couple?
Pretty normal. I mean, when we were dating, I was nervous about, what life would be like because I'd never even comprehended, dating someone in a wheelchair until I met Cambry. But then, after I got over that initial hurdle, like we're basically the same as any other couple, same ups, same downs. We do have to figure out where the stairs are at any location we go into, just so we don't have to, carry her up the stairs. Hopefully there's elevators, but here in the United States, at least, like with the ADA laws,
it's helping.
Things are pretty good. Yeah.
They're better. Yeah. I know last year I went out to visit my dad in Colorado, and we spent a few days up in Aspen, and he is 80 something years old and has very limited mobility. So I got him one of these roll around, scooters, like you see in the malls or whatever. But it was a real eye-opening experience for me to just see how difficult it was to get into a lot of places. Even if they say they're ADA, they're really not.
Things are changing though. And hopefully my business, not a wheelchair, like right now we're designing actual rigid wheelchairs that are customized to each person.
Mm-hmm.
And currently, you're spending anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 to get these chairs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can build them for sub 1,000 shipped out the door. So
that's a fully electric wheelchair. Is that is that the off-road one, or is this something new?
No, this is a rigid manual chair. Like the ones you see in hospitals.
Oh, okay.
Those ones are incredibly cheap because they're not, incredibly cheap as in like $200-$300. But they're not a wheelchair that someone can actually live their life in. Like, pack in a car, carry it around by themselves.
It's for somebody pushing you around from room to room or something. Yeah.
And so we're going to be making the ultra light rigid chairs that people actually live in day to day.
You had a video recently about you were testing out a wheelchair that climbs upstairs. That was super cool. It has like treads on it. I couldn't believe that thing. Cambry looked really scared going up those stairs.
Yeah, she's braver than I am.
Man, are we going to start to see that in the U.S.?
Probably not. That's a company over in Germany or Sweden or something like that. And like I don't know, their healthcare systems are just infinitely better than ours.
Yeah.
They actually take care of people with disabilities. And like ADA laws are great, but that's completely separate from our healthcare system. And so like Cambry's wheelchair, she gets a new one every 5 years, and they wear out every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, she's paying tons and tons of money to get a new chair just so she can go out and do normal things. And we're fixing that.
What are the biggest limitations currently facing wheelchair technology?
I think it's people just aren't aware of it. Before I met Cambry, like I didn't really know anybody in wheelchairs, and it never really crossed my mind. It's like I can go upstairs. I don't really think about what happens if I couldn't go upstairs.
Yeah.
But once you're in a wheelchair, someone who is in a wheelchair, even like the smallest threshold of like 1 inch, big obstacle.
Right.
Now that it's more, in my brain, I can see what a big problem it is, but I totally don't fault other people who aren't in that realm for not noticing, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Because I know like Shane's wheelchair, well, he's got a special custom made. It's like close to $100,000 or something for this wheelchair. Easy. It has to be custom fitted to, his butt and where his legs sit and everything, just so it's comfortable. And then it's got so much, electronic components. It took months for him to get fitted for that thing. I mean, this is something you're going to use all the time. It has to be perfect.
Yeah. But there's also that, you talk about it all the time when you're buying woodworking tools and stuff. Like you can buy a used drill that's going to last you 100 years instead of buying a new one for 10 times the cost.
Right.
And so I feel like that same way of thinking needs to come over into the wheelchair industry, and not from, the lower levels. It needs to come from the upper levels. Like the chair doesn't need to be 100%. It needs to be 90% and $90,000 cheaper.
Affordable, yeah.
So people can actually use it. Like if his chair breaks, and I'm sure he'll tell you this as well, if his chair breaks, he's out of a chair for like months while it gets fixed, because they're waiting for perfection when they shouldn't be waiting that long for that type of technology. And like in a lot of these chairs, they're still using like lead acid batteries and stuff like that. And like lithium ion's been the best power source for like 10 years now. And the adaptive equipment isn't progressing as fast as technology.
Why is that? There's not money in it for them, or what's the deal?
I think the money is in just keeping what they have. Like I think it's like a $50 billion a year industry. Like it's a massive industry.
So they don't want to do any R&D or what?
It's just, insurance companies, there's just too many levels. Like if Cambry were to go get a manual wheelchair right now, she has to go get professionally fitted, and then she has to go talk to her insurance and then go back to the fitting company just to make sure that she hasn't changed in a few months
Right.
since she was initially measured. And it's just, there's too many levels of bureaucracy to get a chair. And so that's why when we make our chair, we're going to be able to manufacture it and ship it hopefully within 10 days, which is unheard of in the industry. Right now, even if with the most cheapest chairs, it's taking 2 months
Wow.
to get one. Yeah, it's nuts.
That's fantastic. And how are you able to accomplish that?
With lots of big boy toys, big tools, lasers, benders, CNC machines. So the initial investment in the fabrication equipment is going to be pretty phenomenal. But then at the end of the day, hopefully, considering the size of my channel, we won't have to pass any of those costs onto the customer. The customers can just pay for materials and the assembly and not pay for any of the machines that were used to manufacture it.
So this all falls into the Not a Wheelchair brand, the manual chair.
Yeah.
And you also have the off-road one, that one I mentioned in the intro. That was pretty cool because I saw you guys doing it, riding. It looks like I would like to ride on that. I mean, it looks like it would be fun. You guys were trucking around on snow and everything else with these things.
Yeah, it's a blast. We have so that one is 1,000 watts with a solid rear axle, and it's pretty capable machine. Like it can go a lot of places. But this summer we're testing a 4-wheel drive version with a 1,000-watt hub motor in each tire. So it has 4 times the power and the ability to just crawl over anything. So hopefully we release that later this fall, probably before Christmas, give or take. It's going to be quite a bit more expensive, but it's also, something that people can actually take, hunting out in the woods. And, if one motor goes out, the other 3 motors can still be a backup. More redundancy in the 4-wheel drive version.
Basically, you're designing an ATV that's operable with just your hands.
Yeah, and it's quiet because you can't take an ATV in a lot of places, like in national parks, out of the question.
Yeah.
But now, if you have a mobility device that can do it, ADA laws say that you can take it anywhere that regular humans are allowed to go. And I think the national parks have their own rules, but for the most part, they follow the ADA guidelines.
And when do you think you're going to have the new wheelchair in production?
The rigid wheelchair, hopefully we start doing prototypes and like shipping out beta test units we have a list of people who are signed up to be testers. That should happen in June, July. And then hopefully towards the end of the year, we kind of open that up to another round of people. Yeah, it's pretty intense. It's hard to run both businesses at the same time. So it'll be nice when the Not a Wheelchair one is profitable and able to support itself.
What do you consider your main business? What do you consider what you do?
I would say, I think I'm a creator is what I would say. YouTuber would be another adjective or title, I guess. Influencer, some people are opposed to that word. It doesn't bother me, but it's not the first word that comes to mind when I think of my job description. Yeah,
influencer's kind of getting a bad name lately. It just, it kind of reeks of like hyper consumerism, Buy.
Which, like, one thing I want to talk to you about is in a lot of your videos, you say stuff like, I'm not going to include affiliate links in the description because I want you to trust what I'm saying is coming from an honest place. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that. But I think people get the vibe that what you're saying is coming from an honest place, even if you do have affiliate links in the description.
Oh, yeah.
And so there is a balance. And I think there's like a line of like being an honest person, and you're in like the ultra honest zone where you're sacrificing money.
I don't think that it's, and I'm not opposed to affiliate links. I use them. It's just in certain videos, I don't think that they're appropriate. If I'm going to have a list of these are the tools you need to start woodworking, I think in that case, it's disingenuous for me to say, yeah, but these are really the brands that you want to spend money on, rather than saying you're going to need a circular saw. It doesn't matter what kind it is, but get a circular saw. But, then I also have a tool list where I'm, showing people how you can get tools for under $1,000, which does have brands on it and has the actual tools and affiliate links on there. So it sort of depends upon the situation, I guess. But no, I'm not totally opposed to affiliate links. It's a nice little extra income, I guess.
Yeah, as long as you use them because it's okay to use them. You're allowed to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The other thing is that you do sponsored spots on your videos too. And I stopped, well, it was, I guess once I started developing my own product, I stopped doing that because I didn't want to promote two different things at once. But it was dragging down my videos, those things, the way people click through those. It was like all of a sudden I noticed that whole retention rate just dropping as people were not really watching the ads.
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing game because as soon as someone clicks away from your video, YouTube notices that and, it hurts the videos. Then you get less views. It promotes the video less to your followers, I guess.
Right.
I was listening to a podcast with Mr. Beast on it, and he was saying that like he doesn't even push his own merch in his videos for the most part because of that same thing. He doesn't want people to leave the video, which hurts his watch time and hurts his retention, and then hurts the video performance. And so there's definitely a balance to be had with growing your channel and making money, and you have to walk the line between both of those.
Well, he's Mr. Beast too. I mean, he's
Mr. Beast for a reason.
I think he crafts every second of that video. I think that he has people who are looking at the analytics down to such a granular degree that he knows at every second of that video where he wants people to be watching and if they're going to drop out, to how to pull them back in there. And watching his videos is mind-boggling to me in the way how fast-paced they are and how constantly they keep people watching. They keep you watching and keep you engaged in that entire video.
He does a great job. I think he has a different audience than you and I, though. So
oh yeah, I mean, it's
what he does works for his audience. We probably could not emulate that.
That's a big mistake people make on YouTube, though, is they all try to, well, if Mr. Beast does it, I'm going to try it. And so, everybody ends up with the screaming face thumbnail, and everybody ends up with a, hey guys, I got to get in this first 3 seconds. I've got to get the hook in there, and all of this stuff that, it doesn't work for every channel. And I think that's kind of been my experience with YouTube, is that nothing that works for one channel will ever work for another channel. There's just too many differences among people and viewers and everything.
Are you on other platforms as well besides YouTube?
I just Instagram, and I have a company that posts over on Facebook.
Cool. Yeah, my editor posts all my stuff on Facebook too because I hate that platform.
Yeah, it's weird. It pays pretty well. I don't know. Personally, I don't know anybody who uses it. You never hear anybody say, hey, follow me on Facebook. It feels so retro or something. It's weird, but it's still, a lot of people use it, I guess.
You're not doing the TikToks?
I set up a TikTok account because somebody was spoofing me and came and took my name, and I thought, well, now I got to set up a TikTok to show that I'm the real guy posting the videos, because he was just stealing my stuff. And then I did shorts on YouTube, and then I would upload those to TikTok, and immediately it went from 0 to like 40,000 followers, like almost overnight, which is a little suspect anyways, because I didn't really even promote this thing. And then it just stopped. And then so I haven't posted anything over there in a while. How about you? You using TikTok?
A little bit here and there. Same thing. My editor's just posting random stuff over there. The only one that I'm actively on is just YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. But I have a presence on the other platforms.
Yeah.
So
I quit Twitter probably 5 or 6 years ago.
That's probably a good thing.
I just had enough. And it wasn't really anything bad. It wasn't like people were attacking me, or it was just like the whole vibe of it just kind of brought me down. It was just not a good space to be in.
It hasn't improved in 5 years, I'll tell you.
No,
that, so.
I can't imagine.
But I mean, for anyone listening, like we are influencers, we are creators, but at the same time, there is definitely a balance to be had between how much time we spend on these platforms. Like when I'm on social media, I'm working, and then as soon as I'm done working, I'm off of social media, because just being on social media is definitely detrimental to your overall happiness and your overall self-worth. And I think people tend to forget that, and I wish they wouldn't. Social media is not a bringer of happiness in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and I think that I think when it went from being a social networking to social media that the change kind of occurred, and people are no longer trying to just connect with friends and family. They're really, everybody wants to create content. That became the mantra, just put out content. And so everybody is just pushing all of this information out there in hopes of getting likes, really is what it comes down to, likes and followers, which is a pretty empty pursuit ultimately.
Yeah.
Did you ever take apart one of these light phones? Have you seen these things? I'm sure you have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You took apart one? Of course you did.
Yeah,
You're taking apart everything.
The price is like $300 though for these light phones.
Well, that's the thing is it's I saw for the first time ever, I saw a couple using them on a plane I was on a couple months ago. And I wanted to ask them how they liked them, but I didn't want to be that guy. But I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks, well, maybe that would help because I wouldn't. But then all it does is sort of read. And if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, these are phones. They're about the size of a credit card, I guess. And they have very limited capability. They've got like what do you call the screen that's kind of like it doesn't have colors or anything. It's like a black and white. It's kind of like the Kindle screen or something, I think.
Yeah, I forget the name of it. Shoot.
Yeah, and so you can get a text messages, a phone. You could use a phone if that's your thing. And I don't think any social media. I mean, that's the point. You can't access any social media on it. And like GPS, maps, things like that.
Yeah, one thing I've been doing lately, I use my phone to check the time a lot, and I also used it for the flashlight. And so what I've switched to is just having like a little $14 Casio watch.
There you go.
It has a 7-year battery life on it. And now I check my phone less because I have the time on my wrist, and I also have a pocket flashlight from Milwaukee. And so instead of pulling my phone out for those two things, I've been able to decrease my screen time because I don't need my phone anymore.
I could look back at my early videos and I was wearing a watch. That's how long I've been on YouTube. Because in 2008, 2009, I don't think I had a smartphone then. I must not have. I think it probably would have been a little bit later before I got my first phone. And then it's all downhill from there.
Yeah.
How in the world did you learn to do all this stuff you do? Is it just pick it up, trial and error?
Yeah, basically. I mean, probably the same way, you learned woodworking is just
there's a difference between building a step stool and building an electric Hummer. I mean, that's a pretty big jump.
I have expanded my social circle enough to include a lot of really smart people, and that has helped me to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, anyone who can engineer or design in a 3D space is like brilliant. So make friends with people like that.
Well, and why the Hummer?
I wanted to take the most, because I feel like when it comes to electric vehicles, a lot of people just don't know. They think, like, there's a lot of conspiracy theories on the internet that say electric vehicles are terrible for the planet, terrible for the environment. When people don't understand
because of the fossil fuels being burned to generate the electricity?
Yeah, they're like, one, it runs off the grid. Two, which is true. Like, it's plugged into the grid, but it uses like 1/4 the amount of fossil fuels to power that vehicle than it does to burn the fossil fuels in the vehicle. So that argument is already negated. And then also they say like the batteries can never be recycled and thrown into a landfill, when in fact, even yesterday there was an article released saying that batteries are 98% recyclable, and the materials and minerals inside of them can just be reused for another battery. And like people just don't know that kind of thing.
Are they being recycled?
Yeah. I have a video on it that I'm not allowed to publish yet, but I'm going to publish it hopefully in the next month or so. But then I wanted to take a vehicle that like that demographic of people who hate EVs appreciate, which is the Hummer.
Yeah, because it represents the ultimate in excess and fuel consumption and gas guzzling.
Yeah, military manliness.
That's like, yeah.
Exactly. So take that least efficient vehicle, put electric batteries in it, and just kind of like explain the process and like explain how electric vehicles work, and hopefully educate and help that audience appreciate EVs just a little bit more. And I think it kind of accomplished that goal, hopefully.
And so I guess now Hummer is coming out with an electric vehicle, yeah?
Yeah, it's been out for about a year or
Oh,
so.
they
They
have
haven't
it.
sold very many of them just because they can't produce them fast enough.
Wow.
But they have been selling them.
See, they watched your video and they're like, oh,
Yeah, I'm sure they learned everything from me.
we gotta get on this. Will there ever come a time where we can solar power a car where it would be completely 100%? You would never have to charge it. It was just always being charged.
Yeah. So if you were to put solar panels on all the available space on my Hummer, it would only get about 5 or 6 miles of range a day, which is not enough for your normal commute.
Well, clearly you just got to
But
make a bigger Hummer.
bigger Hummer. But if you take a much smaller and lighter and more aerodynamic vehicle, there's one called the Aptera,
Okay, I think
which
I saw
weighs
you. Was that when you were testing out? Is that like a three-wheeler? Yeah.
exactly. And so that one is aerodynamic enough and light enough that solar panels on its surface can give it, I think, 30 or 40 miles of range per day on a sunny day, which is more than enough for the American's average commute.
How much does something like that cost?
35,000.
Well, it seems reasonable because it's
Yeah.
like a two-seater, right?
Yep, two-seater. Lots of storage space in the trunk because it's shaped kind of like a raindrop.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, it's a small, light car, two-seater.
Yeah, because see, that would be really handy. Because I mean, 95% of my driving is just going to the gym or going to the supermarket or wherever, and yeah, it's within just a couple of miles every place I go, practically.
Mhm.
That'd be really, really handy. I'm pretty much convinced that the vehicles we own right now are the last gas-powered vehicles we will own. My truck is a 2017. It's diesel, actually. I kind of wish I didn't get that diesel truck, but I don't think I would buy another gas-powered vehicle, and it's probably coming up in a couple of years. I'm sure I'll be buying something. But so basically, the solar-powered thing, like on a truck, would just be? Is that just too crazy of a thought, or will that happen someday?
I mean, Elon Musk says that the bed cover on the Cybertruck is going to be solar powered, and which will add 5 or 10 miles of range per day, give or take. But for the most part, it wouldn't be worth it because the extra weight also offsets the gains. So
Is it the solar technology isn't good enough yet, and will that improve?
yeah, I mean, it would be helpful if the solar panels were more efficient, but it's also like, you could put, 20 solar panels on the roof of your house, and then they don't need to be on your car because you're just using that power anyway as you charge up the
Oh,
batteries.
sure, right, yeah, because that's what we've
So
got.
that's,
I think we've got like 15, 20, maybe 20 solar panels on our house.
yeah.
Then we'd start getting an electric bill again, because that would to power the house and a car would probably be a lot. What kind of cars do you own right now?
So my wife has a Tesla Model X. I
Okay.
have an electric Rivian, and then we have the electric Hummer. So all of our vehicles are electric right now.
Yeah, and you'll never go back, would you, to a gas-powered
No,
vehicle? Yeah.
no.
Well, I think the whole world is going that way, isn't it? I mean, I know here, I live in Northern California, and the next town up from me, Petaluma, has outlawed the construction of new gas stations. So, they're already thinking, and I think California itself is all going to start phasing out the sale of internal combustion engines over the next 10 years.
Yep, that's starting, and it's heading in a good direction, I feel like.
I think so too. I think that this is it just makes sense. And this all came about rather quickly. I think it seems like 15 years ago, electric cars, I would see it like the county fair because there was some quirky group of electric car enthusiasts, and they always made these little crazy looking electric cars. And then suddenly, boom, they were in just every day. Everybody has a Tesla around here now.
Yeah, it was really all thanks to the lithium batteries, because like with the lead acid batteries, there was never the power density of the batteries, the weight was just too high with lead acid, and the maintenance was too much because you have to maintain those batteries. And so
Yeah.
with lithium, since they have no maintenance, they last, 500,000 miles, give or take. It's just, they're so much better.
Is it Cybertruck? Should I get a Cybertruck?
It's really big,
Is it?
like Hummer big.
Oh,
It's
see, I don't
huge.
want that. No, because
Yeah.
everybody would. I mean, the Hummers around here were like, if people saw a Hummer, it was very much frowned upon. I think is kind of just, but if it was electric, I don't know. Interesting.
It's so big.
But you can get I think all manufacturers have an electric truck now, don't they? A pickup. So I could still haul
Ford
lumber.
has their Lightning. Ram announced one the other day. Yeah, everyone's coming out with one, but the only ones you can actually buy right now at this moment are Ford and Rivian.
Oh, okay. I guess that's the way to go. How's your YouTube experience been like? How would you summarize it over the last 10 years or however long you've been doing videos now?
Really good. There was a period, probably like 3 or 4 years ago, where the YouTube, their support for creators was absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
And their platform had bugs.
Yeah.
But now the platform is far less buggy, and their support is actually existing.
Yeah.
So
it's getting better, isn't it?
I mean, I love my experience making videos, and as long as everything goes smoothly, it's a really great career. And I don't see myself doing anything else besides making videos and reviewing products and just sharing my experiences with technology with people. I've really enjoyed it. And the nice thing about it though is like there's always room for more creators to join up. Like
right.
Creators come and go very quickly, and there's more than enough eyeballs to go around for every creator who's thinking about starting a YouTube channel.
How would somebody compete with what you're doing?
Compete with?
Say, I want to do phone teardowns, but what in the world? There's already this guy. His name's JerryRig, and he's already got the market covered.
I mean, there's always space because I don't do every phone. I only do the popular phones, and so there's definitely room to start with with more budget devices or maybe not so popular devices.
Just do the burner phones.
Exactly. And like, I think, once again, Mr. B says this a lot, like, don't copy someone directly, like do your own spin on it.
Yeah.
But definitely imitate the channels who are successful, because obviously they're doing something right.
What do you think you're doing right? What is it? Why do people watch your videos? Why do you get these crazy amounts of views?
It helps that the technology is relevant. So the sooner I can post a video about a piece of technology after it's released, like I just did the Tesla charger today. And I think since I posted it right after it's released, like it was released like a week ago, started shipping a week ago, it's super relevant. And I think I have 500,000 views in half a day so far.
Wow.
But if I were to post it a month from now, after it's already been released and people are already kind of forgetting about that cycle, then it's not as relevant anymore. So, being in the technology space, relevance is super important.
Right.
But also that same thing, like they don't have as much of a lifespan.
They're not evergreen videos. Yeah.
Right. Where like your videos, like that nail in the wood video where you boil that thing, like that is a evergreen video.
It's a video that just keeps on paying off.
Like you should remake that. Have you remade it before?
I haven't. No.
I
don't think that thing was lightning in a bottle. I don't think I could ever capture that again the same way.
You totally could. Okay, so get a bigger piece of wood, grab one of those giant nails, and do like a giant size version of one. The biggest
I think people have done that. A lot of people have copied that video.
And now it's your turn. And it's okay to repeat projects.
Oh yeah, I do that all the time now because nobody watches.
14 years ago.
Yeah, nobody sees the old stuff. And actually, it's kind of interesting that you brought that up because I do repeat certain projects. And it used to be, I would think, well, people are not going to like this because they're going to complain that you're just run out of ideas and you're doing the same thing again. But the fact is, we have this conceit that everybody is a completionist and watches all of our videos and they've been around for the entire 15 years, when in fact, most of the people watching are probably just within the last year or so. And once in a while, if I do remake a project and somebody has been around for a while, they kind of like it. They're like, oh, this is cool to see that you updated it. And now I can see how it's better this time than it was the first time.
Your cameras are better. Your microphone's better.
Yeah.
One thing I would recommend though to people who are thinking about starting a YouTube channel is just like, if you're going to do a project, just jump right into it. Like don't do any of the like, oh, I just got back from school today. Sorry, I haven't posted in 5 months. My homework was getting out of hand. Like, no one cares. Skip that part. Get into the video.
Yeah.
So
I'm kind of at this place now where I'm not that interested in. I feel a lot more free now than I did a few years ago, even where I was really focused on the algorithm and how much I can really game this thing. And now I'm just kind of like, I'll post a video when I want. and how I want. And then about the only thing I look at is that 1 through 10 list, you know. It's devastating. It's just, you see that?
Yeah.
This video is 9 out of 10. Fewer people watched it because you suck.
Nah, no. I think a lot of people are doing short content and TikToks and stuff.
And longer content now. It seems like the 30-minute videos are crushing it, man. 30 plus minutes seems to be where it's at. I think that.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's because a lot of people now are listening to YouTube, especially with like video essay channels and these kind of things. They can have really long videos and they'll get millions of views on a 1 hour and 15 minute long video. And I think there's just a lot of listening to it. And you can post them on Spotify too, if you want now too. I don't know. It's a weird career, and you never know where it's going to end up. But I'm sure when you started out, you had no idea that you would be manufacturing wheelchairs and making electric vehicles.
But it's been a fun ride.
So your life on YouTube is very much an open book, especially since you post so much. You're like cranking out content. I don't know how you do that, but people do. So good for you, man. You're like twice a week or something. Don't you post a video once or twice a week?
Yeah, I try to do it at least twice a week. It's hard. I can't do it forever. I know I have got maybe 3 years left in me, and then hopefully I'm in the spot where you're at, where I just post wherever I want.
With all of that, and you know, your life now with the new baby coming, and you'll have a family there. What do you do for yourself? Tell me something that nobody knows about Zack.
Me and my wife, we bought a brand new Xbox just to play the new Harry Potter game.
Oh, really?
So that's something we do at nights. Breath of the Wild is coming out for Nintendo Switch, and like we'll just play that game together. Even though it's a one-player game, we'll just like pass off the controller, you know, every 20 minutes or so, and like we'll just both explore that world. So that's something that is really fun for us.
Yeah, I'm glad, because you know, you just have one of those channels that at some point, anybody who watches YouTube at some point is going to run across one of your videos, because you're going to have a question about most likely a phone. And now I think with the electric vehicles, you're really going to start to get a lot, you know, you're getting a lot of people attracted to those. But it just seems like I remember seeing your videos from so long ago, and it was just one of those things that everybody will find one of your videos at some point.
Yeah, been a huge fan. I'm glad we could finally have this conversation and catch up for a little bit. I don't know. I would see your videos forever ago, and I never thought that we would like our paths would cross, or like I'm not like that guy's not gonna watch my videos. Like we're in separate realms. But
here we are. YouTube is like that. It's a pretty good community of people making content. Zack, it was great talking to you. I really appreciate you joining me.